is you walk out, and then you could walk back in, and that way, basically, whenever you resign, you'll spawn as close to the gate as possible. But even if you do that, you will still spawn on the ice, so you will have the slowdown effect of the ice for a few moments. And then don't deal with that. So those are Mersat, so you're not gonna have a good time if you aggro those. I mean, it can work if your armor is infused, but I'm just going to say don't aggro them. It's not a fun time. And they don't drop what you're looking for anyway, so there's no real reason to. And then you just aggro a few of the groups. Note the Pine Souls, the Rangers, they are not linked all the time. Sometimes they are, sometimes they seem to drop aggro by themselves. It doesn't really matter. This one I think is aggro, but even if you aggro the Pine Souls, doesn't actually hurt you. You can deal with them. Back here, there's another group. It usually contains a boss. There's an Elementalist and a Mesmer. I'm not sure if there's any more, but I tend to aggro them. For the alley boss, you want to pull him so that he's... just do it like I do. Have a wall to your side, so that when he's trying to basically keep his distance from you, he can't. And then you sliver him down. The reason to kill the Elementalist or the Mesmer boss is because they have a chance of dropping multiple Frigid hearts. And of course, it's hard mode, so they have a chance of dropping elite tomes. And, you know, it's just nice to have, I guess. Avoid the Pine Souls. They put down traps. Or at least avoid standing where they were standing. If one does what this one did now and just stands right next to you, that's when you can sliver it down. It's sort of insisted. You can kill them and they don't necessarily kill you. I mean, you definitely have enough defenses to survive. But since they don't drop anything you really want, it's usually not worth the trouble. But yeah, they can drop Alpine Seeds, which I think they're used for the Canthan New Year celebrations. But aside from that, it's really not very useful. So basically avoid where they are, because the traps can kill you. It might have to happen with this pull because they didn't break aggro and they're kind of stuck with the imps. But yeah, they sort of try to keep their distance apparently. Funny little thing about their AI. The problem is they've been standing in that spot with the ice imps for a little while now, so if I run in there now, I'm going to trigger a bunch of traps, so just keep that in mind. And hex a few central targets like I'm doing here, and the ball should drop quite quickly. There you go. Now I'm going to trigger the traps. They might very well kill me. But I want the drops, and if they kill me, it doesn't actually matter. I might actually be okay here. There's no reason to maintain your spell protection if all you have aggroed are Pine Souls, because they are Rangers, they're not using spells. And here you go. Even though I was crippled, they broke aggro. It's just because I ran out of their range. Okay, and I should just about survive the bleeding. So that's good. And I aggro the next group. The positioning of the groups is always different. So in this case, I'm not going to be able to pull this group all the way to the next groups, which is why I'm going to have to kill these 5 all by themselves. There's not really a good place to pull them here. I have shown you that first place where you can kind of pull them at the corner. That works very well. Here you have to freeball them. That does tend to take a while. So try to get them in a line and then pull them along that line, so they all kind of cluster together. I mean, you have decent AoE on your skills, so they don't have to be a perfect pixel ball. You're not trying to set them up for a signet spike or anything like that. It's just, you know, this is perfectly fine. There is a kind of superstition that killing them all simultaneously using wastrel skills, for example, is bad for drop rates. I'm not sure if that's true. I've not done any research. I don't think anyone actually has. But In case you're worried about that, I'm really not. You could always use... you could use Sliver Armor to kill them, and then those two skills might actually be optional. You could take pretty much anything. But yeah, basically, I don't do that because I think the drop rate is not really affected by the method you kill them. I'm not sure, I don't believe that's true. There are some things which I feel are true, but killing them all simultaneously, I don't think that really matters. Okay, and then here's the next bunch of groups. There's a lot of them here. I think the total amount of imps tends to be fairly consistent, but they spawn in different locations. So in this case I have a bunch of them here, which is another location where you can't really you don't really have a good corner to pull them in, so you just want to kind of try and get them close enough together so your waste shield skills works, basically. Again, just to try and get them to something that approaches a straight line. And keep in mind they have longbow range, so that's a bit of a pain sometimes. As you can see, the group back there, because of its long range, is already de-aggroed. It's also something that you might want to keep in mind, is that you want to aggro them at the right moment, when they're kind of spread out, and not when they're all clustered together, because that makes aggro a little troublesome. It used to be a lot easier to ball these guys up, because they have Ice Spear, or they used to at least, and that used to be a half-range spell. I don't know what change exactly made this not work anymore, but basically they used to run up to you to half spell range, and these guys here really don't wanna follow me, so I'm just going to sliver them down. I have enough aggro, so that should be fairly fast. And then these guys here have kind of clustered up nicely, so I'm just going to stand right here. Start some waste drilling. Don't drop obsidian for too long, but for a little while, as you can see, it's just fine. They don't immediately start casting, and they have a cast time, so it usually works out. Okay, and then the final ball I should be able to get nicely balled up. It really depends on your skills, how nicely you need them clustered. For example, a ranger using whirling defense doesn't have to take as much time balling them up, but I prefer the elementalist because you can deal with the bosses and the pine souls a lot more easily. You just kind of have a lot more single target damage using Sliver. If you use Whirling Defense, you can't do much against... well, you can still kill the bosses and you can still kill the Pine Souls. It just takes a lot longer. Okay, you also don't need permanent uptime on Stoneflash. It's also not really required. Just kind of make sure you don't die, basically. And then the rest is relevant. And there we go. So that's all of them dead. I don't believe there's any point going any further. So, yeah, it was okay in terms of drop rate. You do kill a bunch of them, but individually their drop rate is low. Sometimes a group is tucked fairly far away here, and it can be a little troublesome pulling them together with all the stuff that's here. You can either leave them or pull them and sliver them, or, you know, pull them solo and just kill them separately. It's up to you. And it also depends on your build. As I said, this can be done on a lot of classes. It's also fairly effective on the Ranger, as I've said. It can be done on Mesmer Assassin using waste drills, and yeah, obviously on an Assassin Mesmer as well. So that's all there is to it. This is the route. Use whatever build you prefer. And yeah, I wish you best of luck, and may Nicholas be kind to you with his gifts. Bye bye.